had my black litigation bag, a copy of the rules of evidence, and case files in my lap for clients, stamped Georgetown Prettyman Stiller Fellow. I was wearing a respectable navy blue suit, heels with just the right height of heel, a single strand of pearls, and my hair was newly relaxed to make myself more acceptable to judges and juries. As my late father used to say, I had arrived. It's a well-known rule in the DC courts that the first row is reserved for lawyers only. When I was 11, I told anybody who asked, when I grow up, I'm going to Dartmouth College. I'm majoring in English, I'm taking Spanish, I'm going to law school in New England, and I'm going to try cases in court. Fast forward many years later, mission accomplished. I was in the front row. Just then, an anxious-looking white man tore into the courtroom, obviously running a bit late because it was right before the clerk would say, all rise, and the court would begin to hear cases in criminal courts. The man looked at his file folder, United States versus Hernandez, and down at me in the front row and said, "Are you Miss Hernandez?" This man was so racist. He literally could not see all of the evidence right in front of his eyes, telling him that I belonged in the front row and was a lawyer too. All he saw was that I was not white. And in his mind, all the lawyers are white and all the clients are black or brown. And so he erased years of hard work and also my ancestry. I tried to think of a non-racist reason for why this man could think that I was his criminal client, but there was none, and so I became angry. But as Black women know all too well, no matter how justified, we can never allow ourselves to fall into the trap of the angry Black woman stereotype. So I tamped my anger down, and I looked at him and said very carefully, "No, actually, I'm a lawyer just like you. That's why I'm in the front row with client files in my lap." He looked embarrassed, his face turned red, and he mumbled something before walking away. I didn't catch what it was. But from incidents like this throughout my career, of being mistaken for the stenographer and once even the cleaning staff at my own law firm, I've learned that the American mythology of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps was never intended for Black people. We can do all of the things but we can never achieve or behave our way out of the sucker punches and drive-bys of racism, because it was never about us. It was always about whiteness. Studies show that most white people have all white networks in their friend groups and that they self-segregate. This is why you need to listen to Black people and brown people and believe our lived experiences of racism, about which you know nothing by choice. And I'm going to ask you whether my story resonates with you. Do you put yourself in my shoes as the person who is exhausted from being questioned for rightfully being in spaces where I belonged? Or are you the person stereotyping other people who don't look like you? I want you to imagine times when you may have been at the holiday table with your grandmother or a favorite aunt, and they said something like, "Obama is not American." Did you do anything or say anything? Or did you just tell them to pass the mashed potatoes? I want you to think about perhaps a time when maybe you were at work and you were considering new hires, and the only time someone used the word qualified was when they were talking about somebody Black or brown, and articulate when they were talking about somebody Black. Did you say anything, or did you keep your head down? How about a time when maybe you were in a store, a Starbucks or a Whole Foods, and there was a Black woman ahead of you, and the clerk treated her as invisible, looked past her to ask you, "Can I help you?" Did you place your order, or did you say, "This woman was already here in front of me"? I'm going to issue a challenge to white people who call yourselves allies and say you aren't racist. And it's this. I'm asking you to spend just 10 minutes a day for 5 days, very short period of time, reading and listening to the work of Black artists and Black activists like Toni Morrison and James Baldwin, talking about living Black in America. I also want you to then Google a simple term, common microaggressions. You're going to see a long list, and I want you to read even just a few of those, and you will quickly see that there are a number of things that you may or may not be doing. You don't need to be honest with me about whether you're doing them, but if you truly want to be an ally, you will be honest with yourself, and then you will stop doing them. Because right now, racial tensions are shortening our life expectancies, and your silence is killing us.